it's Archmage Fang again with another RPG book review. I am going to do it in the style of segments, so I'm going to do D&D based D&D like games first, like I did Dungeon Crawl Classics. The reason is because obviously I did the documentary for D&D, and I'm going to follow up from that. So I'm going to do D&D based games first, and then I'm going to do other based games afterwards. So I'll move on to steampunk games, and I'll move on to like futuristic games, and then possibly supernatural games, and basically keep it in a nice order, I suppose, would be the idea. I am going to make a few changes because I am getting myself some lights for my green screen and obviously some furniture to try and be comfortable when I do these reviews. Nevertheless, let's get on to this episode. I am going to cover... Oh, sorry. I'm going to cover The Dark Eye. Now, a bit of history. The Dark Eye, or the Schwarze Auge, is a game, Germany. This edition is the first edition to be printed into English. The ones before that were just purely in German and other languages such as Dutch, French, and I believe Italian. I had a chance to play them when I was in Germany, but it was pretty tough because my German was mediocre. But nevertheless, it was a fun game to play and I enjoyed it. The reason why it was created is because when the second edition D&D was coming out, or Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd Ed, the German company that created the game decided to create adventures in German for D&D. However, when it came to getting paid, they were sort of messed about, so they decided to say sod it, and one of the guys had Adventuria built, which is the world the game is set in. I'll get to that in a minute. And they created The Dark Eye, or the Schwarze Auge. It's set in Adventuria, which is their own world. I'll just get that for you. And it's a high fantasy setting like Dungeons and Dragons. However, it is also based off medieval history as well. For example, the human races, you've got like Middle Realmians, who are sort of like Holy Roman Empire-esque medieval knights type group, and then you've got let's see if we can find them. You also got Thorwallians, or Thorwallians, who are basically Vikings, Nordic. You've got the Ptolemies, who are sort of like I think here. They're basically like sort of Arab type race. You've got Thorwallians, who are Vikings. You've also got Parisian, which are like your French, Italian dual class. You've got Falklandians, which are like your Russian Cossacks. You've got stuff like that. Manadistan, again, like Arabs, and then you've got Navadi, which is sort of your Arabian, Persian type group. You've also got dwarves and elves as well. Creating a character is very different to D&D. There's no rolling dice for stats. You have X amount of points, and it's a point buy system, and you put that by your race, your class, and your skills, whether you learn magic or not. So if you become a magician, you get like professions as well, and you get some very more low fantasy professions, which is quite weird. So for example, you've got explorers, you've got messengers, you've got your physicians, your pirates, but then you've also got other staples: warriors, mercenaries, rangers, archers, magicians, and classes like that. Also, when you buy like you buy your points for your stuff, you also buy advantages. So you can use your points to get more money to buy equipment. You can excuse me, be resistant to magic, immune to poison, you can have a noble birth. And then you get disadvantages which give you more points to spend on your skills. So you have like fear of the sea, greed, curiosity, violent temper. You also get 20 questions per hero to answer, which sort of like fine-tunes your hero's backstory, which is the point. I also have this book, which I will probably review at a later date, called PC Pearls, which is about creating characters, so sort of that type of thing. It's got questions and stuff like that. Okay, we have these skills, which are talents, and it's all based around using these talents to do things. However, it's all based on your skills, whether you succeed or fail a check. So, for example, say you were to climb a tree. So I've just got to catch it back. Alright, say you wanted to climb a tree, then you would get given 3 rolls to make based on your courage, your dexterity, and your agility, and you'd roll them in turn. Say like one's to get the courage to climb it, and one's to actually start climbing it, and the other's to reach the top. If you have to roll under whatever your stats are. If you get over your stats by points and you've got enough skill points, you can use the skill points to then bring that number back down to pass. I prefer, however, to do it over the course of 3 turns as opposed to just 1. So you do roll your 3 dice, but you'll roll your courage for your first turn, and the next turn you'll roll your dexterity to get into the tree, and and the last one I'll probably make you do agility to stay in the tree, allowing you to use your skills over the 3 turns. It is a bit crazy to get used to at first, but once you've gotten used to it, it's quite a fun game. Your talents are very, very, very precise. It is a German game, so it's not surprising. Like, for example, if you have, like, I don't know, we'll take, I don't know, mining, for example. You can then specialise that talent to be into mining gold, or mining metal, or mining iron, or mining coal. Farming's the same thing. You get loads of stuff like tanner, furrier, you get butcher, you've got woodcraft. I mean, it's more in depth than, say, D&D with its list of 15 skills. You also get combat talents as well, which is the ability to use swords, axes, staffs. So a wizard could run around with a sword, basically, if they have the right weapon talent. Fighting in this is a bit more swashbuckling, dueling, sword fighting than D&D's of just I rolled to hit this person, they rolled to hit me, I rolled to hit them, they rolled to hit me. It's more because you get a attack value and a parry value, and your attack value, if you pass it and then say you're fighting a guard and the guard uses his parry and his parry passes, then then you both pass and your blow gets parried. If your attack passes and his parry fails, you hit, and then of course if your attack fails and his parry makes it, then you can counter attack. You do get breakage values for your weapons and shields, so obviously there's certain rules for that. Your armor as well it's not like armor class like Dungeons and Dragons. It's more of a, if you get hit and then they do damage, then the armor absorbs that damage. So say you've got a chainmail which is 7 armor points, then and they roll 8, then you only take 1 damage because the chainmail absorbs the rest. And yeah. So that's actually quite a lot. You also fumble and critical hit like doing Dungeons and Dragons. However, it's the opposite way around. 1's a critical hit and 20 is a critical fail, because it's all about rolling under your stats as opposed to rolling a high number. High's bad in this. Brawling, wrestling. Yeah, you can brawl and wrestle. You also got ranged, which is all based upon how far away you are from the opponent and what weapon you're using. So, for example, if you've got a dagger, which is only like 10 feet, so on the thing it's like 2 squares. But like, if you're 1 foot, if you're 1 foot away, then it's like you don't add anything to it. But like, if you're 10 feet away and you're trying to throw this, like -1, because obviously it's further away. And that works across the board with bows, throwing axes, crossbows, whatever you can get your hands on, really. You can actually use the ranged weapons to attack with as well, which is kind of weird, but obviously you get penalties for that. There's so many weapons in this. Improvised weapons, that doesn't really count much. It's all about just like using a fucking bottle of a bar or something like that. Okay, well, the world of Aventura itself is based on 12 months, 365 days a year. However, there are 12 gods, each being represented for 30 days, so that's 300 days. And then the last 5 days of the year are dedicated to the Nameless One, who is basically chained to hell by the other gods because he's evil and destructive and yada yada yada. And then those 5 days, his chains loosen and demons get loose in the world. And each god has their own knights, which does very, very different things. For example, you've got Thex, who is the god of merchants and thieves, and his priests are all bounty hunters. I believe you also got, you'll find the gods page. Magic there, but I'm not going to look at that yet, because magic's different in this as well. I don't know. You have Rundra, the goddess of war, whose priests are basically warrior priests. Yeah, you've got Theron, who's the god of hunting, and all the priests are dressed as like hunters, who basically go out and hunt for big feasts and stuff like that. You've got, what else we got? Ingram, the god of fire and smiths, so his priests are always dressed up in like as blacksmiths, and yeah, it's basically based on and of course you've got, like I say, you got Nameless One, who's the evil bad guy who releases demons, and depending on how big the horns are is how powerful they are, I believe, if I remember the rules. Excuse me. You also have obviously staple races, staple monster races such as ogres, orcs, goblins. You also got gnomes in this, but they're mostly like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, which is quite weird. Forest spiders, giant ants, swamp things. Even unicorns can be bad guys. You also got undead skeletons, zombies, and mummies as well. We've got stuff about dragons, which is weird. I believe in the older games they could actually like eat magic and stuff like that, depending on how powerful the magic was. But the dragons set fire to people flying breath. You've got demons as well. They're going to be killed by magical weapons and magic because demons. Obviously, you get something for that. Get diseases and plagues, and then obviously buying equipment. Yeah, it's basically just a German D&D, and just loads of different rules, but it's very, very fun to play. Again, the rules are very tricky to get around because you have to roll 3d20 and stuff like that, and you have to go down the way instead of up, but it is still a fun game. I like this. I like the setting. I like the system. I like all the stuff. Magic I like in this. I must confess I got the DCC version better because of the corruption and how magic having the price and stuff, but like this one, it's simple. It's not spell slots, but it's more astral energy like mana. and you get X amount of spells to start off with, and then your points called GP or generation points, you can actually convert it to spell generation points to buy spells and stuff. So for example, you get Ignifaxis, is that here? Yeah, here it is. Ignifaxis, which is basically like a fire lance spell, and it's and it's basically for every astral point spent, the amount of dice the d6 you roll, but obviously with every spell you can put more and more and more into it, so you put all the astral points into one spell and just basically melt someone. I remember one of my friends at the game club doing that, which was quite funny. However, to do this you also have to make the 3 dice roll to cast a spell, and again it's each turn you make a roll test roll. So this one, I believe it's courage, agility, and DE, whatever that is, dexterity. And then, so for example, you would cast the courage one first to get it started, then the agility one, and then the dexterity one again. And if you fail, depending on what happens, yeah, armor doesn't do anything. But yeah, and it's basically elves and humans do magic differently, and they have different spells depending on the class. But for a wizard, they get a wand enchantment, which the wand enchantment do stuff like they can summon their wand from another place, or it can't be broken, and you get the ability to turn into a torch, and then turn into a rope. And then elves actually get what's known as elf songs, which is basically like bards in D&D, play songs, and that's how they cast their magic. There's a history here about the continent of Aventura. It's a very good read. But yeah, that's basically it. Tips for the High Lord, which is the Dungeon Master. It's basically common sense, really. Usual stuff. Provide players with helpful hints. Never relegate heroes to role spectators. Don't pamper your heroes with magical equipment. It's the do's and don'ts. Stay for players as well. Describe hero actions. Stay within the game at all time. Keep playing hero knowledge apart. High Lord is always right. You get some archetypes, which is good for like if you want to have a one-shot game. So yeah, it's again. Like for example, 1 out of 150 in Aventura are magicians. Yeah, it's a really nice setting. Obviously, it gives you tips on how to like dress your character appropriately. So, for example, if you're playing as a fighter, for example, you play as a fighter and you want to worship and really get into it, that tells you to wear red and bright, because that's Rondra's colours. Or if you're a thief, then to wear like black and bits of yellow because it affects his colours and that type of stuff. It gives you all the things you need to basically build a character and play a game in Aventura, which is the setting. I like it. Yeah, all in all, in conclusion, again, another good game. Bit cumbersome to learn the rules. Character generation can take a bit of time, because obviously there's so much you can buy and different stuff you can do. But once you get over the rules and once you get over and obviously all the stuff like that, it's a very good game to play. For High Lords, it's very, very tricky because it's very easy to do it D&D style, but it's very, very different. A good example of adventure in this would be, for example, I don't know, a demon is roaming the land. They can only be defeated by a sword, but the sword's split into 5 parts, so you have to find the 5 bits of the sword to beat him, and that's the adventure. But all in all, a good game. It might not be for everybody, but if you can get a copy, I suggest you try it at least once or twice. And again, have fun with it, really. Don't discount it. I mean, I know people have played this once and I'm not playing that again. give it a couple of tries. But don't, you know, play it a couple of times, see what you think. I like it, but I know a couple of people don't like it because again the rules are very cumbersome and it's very tricky to get your head around. But if you can get your head around it and you can take time to study Aventura, then yeah, definitely get this game. It's a good one. I mean, I know there's a new edition that's just come out, but I'm going to see about getting that, and maybe I'll do a review on that sometime. Well, that's Miss Thing signing off, and yeah, venture on.